After 9 years of waiting, Mad Max is back. Yesterday, the latest instalment in the franchise debuted at the Cannes Film Festival, and critics are already calling it action filmmaking at its finest.
Yeah, and two of its stars have hot-footed it straight to our studio. Chris Hemsworth, who obviously you'll know as Thor, and Anya Taylor-Joy from The Queen's Gambit. They'll be telling us all about the blockbuster and its epic action scenes. I mean, it involves monster trucks, motorbikes and more than 200 stunt workers.
Epic is definitely the word.
It is time to talk about one of the most anticipated action films of the year. It's called Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, and it's the prequel to the Oscar-winning film Fury Road.
Yes, two of its brilliant stars are here. Please give a warm welcome to Chris Hemsworth and Anya Taylor-Joy. Welcome to the programme. Thank you so much for coming, especially as you've just hot-footed it back from Cannes Film Festival.
Yeah,
and congratulations, because Chris, I think it was your first time there. You both got this amazing 6-minute standing ovation. That must have been quite a moment. How did it feel?
Very cool.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Yeah, it was wonderful to, I mean, it's the first time, as you say, that I've been there, and to be there with a film like this, that, you know, the franchise existed for 45 years, and then to be there with Anya and with George and the cast and have that kind of response was pretty special, yeah.
Yeah, I do have to ask the question, though. At what point does the clap get a little bit awkward?
Well,
because do you know what I mean? Because
pretty much straight away.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Kind of, yes.
If someone claps you, you kind of go, you know, and then it gets to the point where you hear one person go, and then it dies out. But you're doing it 6 minutes. You stood.
Well, I've heard
it
6
goes
minutes,
in
6.5. I've heard 7. Someone said 8. There's all different reports. It felt like 30, because it was like...
But to be fair, they can boo, so I'm really glad that it was clapping and not booing, because I think that's
Did it get to the point where you were looking down, or did you choose someone to look at? I'm just fascinated
just clap
by
your
that.
hands off, because you're also clapping yourself, which is even worse.
Yeah, I'm really good. I know, I'm fabulous.
Well, look, you guys deserve it, but look, Anya, this is the 5th instalment of Mad Max. Of course, it's the post-apocalyptic world that we all know and love. But with this one, you know, as it's the 5th instalment, I understand that people are saying now you don't need to watch all the other ones that have been there before it to kind of pick up the story. So where do we find ourselves in this?
So in this story, we are tracking a character called Furiosa that was obviously in Fury Road, but it's really her origin story. And so you see her taken from the place that she's from, which is called the Green Place, and kind of her massive odyssey. You know, it takes place over 15 years. But as you said, what's really quite remarkable about this is George Miller has managed to make films that all complement each other and yet completely work as standalone movies. And so it just feels really exciting to be a part of that world.
Yeah, totally.
Well, let's take a look at what people can expect.
However long it takes, promise me you'll find your way home. Furiosa, give me this promise.
I'm Furiosa!
The darkest of angels. The question is, do you have it in you to make it epic?
It is so much fun. So, Chris, people obviously know you as playing a superhero Thor, but this time you're playing a villain, Dementus, and I think you found inspiration for his voice in some quite unusual places.
Yeah, look, the script offered up a pretty interesting character and pretty flamboyant, crazy, manic individual, and the vocal quality. There's a few things. My grandfather had a very sort of strong nasality to the way he spoke, and just hello, how's it going? Wake up. I wanted there to be something sort of abrasive and disruptive about it, and then horse racing commentary, it's coming around the corner, sideshow circus kind of entertainers, step right up, because he's this individual, he's a showman, you know, he's trying to amass followers, he's trying to convince those of the wasteland that he can bring them out of the suffering and lead them into you know, a safer place. And so he's mimicking a lot of different things, but he's a maniac at heart.
I mean, he is called Dementus.
It's called
It's in the name.
It's a subtle hint there in the name.
Exactly. But Furiosa, I mean, Anya, you know, your portrayal of Furiosa is amazing because she rarely speaks, obviously, you know, because she's trying to hide a lot from her past and everything that's happened.
Yeah.
Too much away. But you must have had to really work on facial expressions because you're spending so much of the film acting just through, like, your eyes and through this much.
Yeah, well, you know what's crazy is I was never concerned about the lack of dialogue. As you said, it made a lot of sense for the character, and I was like, oh, yeah, I've got this. But George also had a very strict idea of how he wanted me to hold my face for a large portion of the film. So when you say I only had my eyes, it was really just this. But I do think that there was an element that, like, it intensified the situation, because I'm sure she wants to talk about what's going on in her life, but she's just surviving. So, yeah, I think it gave it that
There was a beautiful
fire.
intensity, sort of volcanic, you know, eruption about to occur, and this sort of, you know, restricted sort of presence and power that you're sort of waiting and simmering, and then eventually kind of leads toward, you know, the sort of, you know, the pinnacle at the end of the film, and we get to see some pretty dynamic.
It gives more depth to the eruption.
Yeah, 100%. I like that analogy. Very good, yeah. But look, the stunts in it are absolutely incredible. I mean, is it right? One action scene is obviously 15 minutes long, right? Because whilst you're in it, you know, it goes so quickly, but 15 minutes, was that complicated to shoot?
We shot it for 78 days.
one
78
scene?
days, yes. It's called Stowaway. It was 100% like the mountain that we were all trying to climb. Mostly something that was done on second unit with our second unit director, Guy Norris, who was actually a stuntman in the first Mad Max movie, so keeping it in the family.
Yeah.
And it was wild. It was so much fun, but really interesting, because it all took place on the war rig. And so I had it, like, very mapped out in my head of, like, okay, I've got a month and a half underneath the rig, a month on the side, and then when I finally made it into the cabin next to Tom Burke, he handed me a sandwich.
So
He was like, well done, you've made it. And I was like, thank you.
And how do you keep the intensity over that length of shooting time? Because it's got to be the same kind of energy, right?
Yes, but, you know, I think this world, the Mad Max world, kind of encourages people that want to have an experience like this. And because we're all coming to work also as fans, that gives you this added energy and excitement, because you just want to do the best that you can by the franchise.
And also, Chris is there going, got 75 days off.
Yeah, I was in the background.
Yeah.
My character was the conductor of chaos, just pointing everyone else in
exactly.
directions.
Well, guys, thank you so much. Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga, is out in cinemas next Friday. And Chris, Anya, stay there because we've got loads to come.
Yes, Dara OBrien will be here to shed some light on the mysteries surrounding the Egyptian pyramids.
Yeah, I'm very...
Right, let's say hello to our next guest. It's comedian and presenter Dara OBrien. Welcome, Dara. Lovely to see you. Now, Dara, I hear that you were very excited about sharing the sofa with
Very
these two.
excited.
Who wouldn't be,
Oh my God,
obviously?
my favourite Avenger and my
thank
favourite
you.
troubled chess grandmaster. That's an easier competition to win, that particular one. Yeah, no, this is great, guys. It's fantastic, yeah.
Really lovely to have you. Now, look, Dara's last documentary looked at the wonders of the moon, but this time he's exploring something a little closer to home. Before we talk about it, let's take a look.
For thousands of years, people have gazed in wonder at the pyramids, fascinated by their mystery.
How do they build them? Why do they build them? What do we still not know? The precision really is beyond what the ancients should have been capable of.
An absolutely astonishing place.
So join me as we travel across the globe in search of answers.
As we explore the mysteries of the pyramids.
Very good. Now, Dara, I'm going to come straight out and say it. Many theories about how the pyramids were built.
Are you going to say the word? Are you going to say the word aliens? Is that what you're about to say? Was that was that
you
word
said
going to be
it.
uttered
It's
from your
Dara,
mouth?
it's as
Was
if
your
you're
mouth
psychic.
going to make the word aliens to me?
Dara,
Was
I'm
it?
just asking the question, how did the aliens do it?
Yeah. I don't know. We'd have to go to their home
Lots
and
of
ask them how
credible
they did it
sources on
there.
YouTube
Like,
tell me it's
oh
aliens.
yeah, I mean that is the place to go for this historical stuff. It is literally impossible to do this topic without somebody mentioning aliens. Even we have this. You know, they had to put it into this, and you go, yeah. It is because it is one of the great human stories of how they built this thing. And then every time something is like, well, that seemed very difficult. We don't know how they did that. There's somebody who rushes and goes, maybe it was aliens. People are desperate to include the aliens.
Me.
Yeah, there we go. But there is a touch, and this is so good to have you here for this. That there is a face I do, sometimes internally, sometimes literally to them, which I call the Thor meme face.
Yeah.
Which is that every time somebody goes, but what if it was the aliens?
Yeah.
I bet it was the aliens, and I always go,
You're going to do the high pitch.
Yeah. Was it? So that's my view on the aliens thing. Because
But you did discover in this documentary a slightly more plausible theory. Sorry, Roman, for how the pyramids.
look, all of the questions about where did the stones come from, how did they get built and all that, like whatever. Nowadays we know, because you can see the pyramids, we sit interestingly at a bit where Cairo is really impinging on it. And there's one part of it that they're trying to push back to clear because they've uncovered the harbour that was right at the foot of the big pyramid because the Nile had a different flow and would flood, and they brought the stones in really close to the pyramids. They found a village where 30,000 builders and their families lived for their entire lives. They found graffiti from them in some of the pyramids. "We are the drunkards of Menkaure," written on the walls of the pyramids, like whatever. So they even found a list of builders' kind of inventory list that included the words "deliver limestone to Giza." So there's loads of really great evidence now for how they did it, like whatever. And it's the greatest of most basic of human stories. We like to build. And it doesn't matter you're in Peru or you're in Sudan or whatever. We want to stack things on top of things and build, and that was how we did it in those times.
But it is fascinating, and you can't help but look at something of that scale and the size of the stones that were used and not think, how have they not used an electromagnetic form of propulsion from an alien spaceship? So what I want to know, but it's actually quite simple how they did it, right?
Yeah. They used ropes and they dragged it and they lifted it. That's how they did it. Yeah. But I'm loving the need for an electromagnetic propulsion.
He's hungry for affirmation.
But when you say they, you mean the aliens.
Yeah, well, when you said "we are the drunkards," I'm like, rowdy aliens, got it.
But Dara, it is a fascinating story about how they were able to move those huge blocks.
It is, but it's in some ways the more interesting thing is the fact that they failed as a building, because the whole point of them was to stop thieves getting in to steal all the gold. The pharaohs would be there with all of their worldly goods, and literally none of them worked. All of them were broken into practically immediately, to the extent that they stopped building them. So we're sort of doing about the building, but we're also doing a heist movie about how they kept trying to outdo the thieves, and the thieves kept getting in. Right? And it's only because we have one Tutankhamun, we've one who was never raided and was only found 100 years ago, is the only reason we know that how incredible those graves must have been.
But you really get stuck in, for example, cutting the limestone, working out how they did that.
Oh, yeah. There's bits of us crawling through the sand. We also worked with sand for a long time in our project. We showed it there last night. 7 minutes standing ovation. It was just me. I was watching it on the streamer, but it was grand. I was aching. I was at the end. How long more? But it is, and there was proper Raiders of the Lost Ark type bits where we were crawling down into the tunnels underneath, which is half the joy of doing this stuff. So the access was phenomenal.
Dara, Egypt isn't the only place that you've been lately, because you posted this picture on social media saying "Life Achievement Unlocked." Talk us through it.
That's as you Madison Square Gardens in New York. That's a New York Knicks basketball game, and at the end they fired the T-shirts in, and I'd like to say that I caught the T-shirt. It hit me in the chest.
To be fair, it does always look so violent.
It's quite a horse.
Really intense.
And particularly at the end, it's like we got to get rid of all the T-shirts, and they're like, thump, 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 thump. And so I got hit in the chest, like whatever. And now because of that, I'm following the New York Knicks because what you need, Roman, is a sports team that you're not too emotionally invested in when a season comes to an end disappointingly. I've kind of transplanted onto that, like whatever. So do you guys follow the bat?
I'm a Knicks fan.
There we go.
I am a Knicks fan. I finally got to sit courtside for the first time, and it's so much fun because you feel like you're a part of it. But to be fair, not to bring it back to aliens, but the reason why I fell in love with basketball is because it's just people that are so tall, so coordinated, playing ballet. Well, that's athletic. It's the wildest thing to watch.
And I have to say, Anya, there's one on the sofa next to you. Could have been, had a career in basketball.
Me?
Chris, shots like this.
Career in basketball.
You play?
Come on!
Yeah, there's a small celebration.
Oh, he's not thrilled at all.
Even the professional basketball players don't celebrate that much.
So they're like, whoa.
Yes.
Understated.
Standing ovation.
Yeah.
First shot, obviously.
Dara, thank you so much. And Mysteries of the Pyramids with Dara OBrien starts Monday at 9 o'clock on Channel 5 and My 5. We've been inundated with messages tonight. I have to say, A lot of them coming in for earlier on. We had Niall Wilson, that wonderful film, and Neil says, big thank you to the gymnast Niall. I'm really struggling at the moment, and his story of beating his problems, so inspiring.
Yeah, meanwhile, Jane says, Chris Hemsworth, you are brilliant. I could listen to you all day.
Oh.
That's my mum's pseudo.
We'll add that. That's an extra minute we're going to add Jane to the
Sorry.
standing ovation. So that is all we've got time for tonight. Thank you so much to our fantastic guests.
Yeah, I'll be back tomorrow alongside Alex when we'll be joined by Eurovision winner Nemo for their first UK TV interview. Plus, actors Dominic West and Callum Scott Howes, and we'll have a very special performance from Keen. Really excited for that. Have a great evening.
Bye.
Later.